I have chosen as our opening words this morning a responsive reading, which means that I need your help. If you could find it in the back of your hymnal, it's number 468, We Need One Another. And instead of me reading the regular type, why don't we have this side of the sanctuary be the regular type, and this side of the sanctuary respond in the italics. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted.
We need one another when we are troubled and afraid.
We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again.
We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and have to do it alone.
We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs.
We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again.
We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey.
All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us.
Spirit of life, be with us in this time of prayer. Hold us in this in-between season. May the chill in the air at night remind us to give thanks for the warm places we know in our lives. May our very first glimpses of leaves turning red and orange amidst the green remind us that we too have the ability to change. Help us to embrace the turn of the season and to remember that to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Some of us here are celebrating. Some of us here are questioning. Some of us here are mourning. This week marks the anniversary of September 11th, and we are all remembering lives lost that day and afterward. Help us to honor the memories of those who have gone before us. Help us to keep safe and at peace those who will come after us. Hold us in this in-between season. Amen. Our reading this morning is entitled Dead Battery by Gordon McKeeman. Our camper van is one of the less active members of the family. It does a great deal of they also serve who only stand and wait duty. It's reassuring to see the van there, ready to burst into activity at the turn of its key, admirably alert for a vacation jaunt or a bulky load that would overwhelm our modest sedan. The other day, though, when our constant duty vehicle was absent on errands, I needed to undertake what seemed an urgent mission. So I took to the van and turned the key. Nothing. Not a cough, not a tremor, not a flickering light. Nothing. My routine and instantaneous diagnosis, a dead battery. The battery was 5 years old and had probably died a slow death because of prolonged inactivity, aided by the subtle and gradual drain of an unturned off radio. Once the local AAA service came and jolted the engine into unaccustomed action, a new battery was obtained and installed, and the faithful van was rehabilitated for further action-ready, patient waiting. It occurred to me that sometimes we leave our religions sitting idly in the corners of our lives, awaiting some emergency, a crisis, accident, or untoward happening. Day by day, however, The depredations of our time have drained away our religion's power. Come a crisis, we leap to our religion and turn the key. Not a whimper, a cough, or a shudder. No light flickers, nothing. Then we are reminded that a little preventative maintenance might have kept up our faith, kept it energized for just such a time as this. That's one of the reasons that even a simple daily devotional practice or regular attendance at worship needs to be part of our ordinary routine. It keeps one's religion in working order. It's no accident that my automobile mechanic suggests a weekly running of the van. Likewise, religious institutions offer weekly opportunities for worshipful gathering of the faithful. It's to keep our religion in good shape. We never know when an urgent need for our deep and active faith will arise, so it's a good idea to keep it in shape. It's sad to see people who thought they had an active faith discover that it had lost its resilience through prolonged disuse. It looked strong as it sat there, but it had a dead battery. When people ask why I attend church so regularly, I respond, I go to church to recharge my battery. I want to be sure as I can that my religion will be ready to serve when it is most urgently needed. This morning, along with so many other Unitarian Universalist churches, on this Sunday after Labor Day, we are celebrating our Ingathering. Typically, an Ingathering Sunday celebrates the return of the congregation after a summer away. For us here in Provincetown, our Ingathering Sunday has to look a little different than those other sister congregations because, for one thing, we didn't go anywhere. We have been right here all summer long, holding services upstairs and drinking coffee downstairs. We've been welcoming visitors and spending time with summer members. In fact, summer is our high season. So in a sense, we don't need an ingathering today as we welcome fall. But in another sense, we need it even more than those other churches. We need a Sunday to mark the end of the hectic summer and the beginning of a more peaceful shoulder season. We need a Sunday to take a collective deep breath. Here it is. Saying, we made it through. And I personally need some kind of medal or award for not accidentally running over anyone on Commercial Street, trying to get in and out of my parking spot in front of the church. And we all need a Sunday to regroup as a community and remember who we are and why we come here. Each season is a new beginning, and every chance we are given to reflect, renew, and begin again is a gift. Often, ingathering Sundays at UU churches include a ritual called water communion. This ritual involves people bringing a small amount of water from wherever they have traveled over the summer to add to a communal bowl, often speaking aloud the names of the places their water comes from. The mingled water then becomes the holy water of the community. I'm hoping that next year we can make this UU tradition a part of our liturgical calendar here too. Although this is a favorite ritual of mine, I grew up with it. I have a colleague who shall remain nameless who has come to disdain water communion. It's not because he does not like ritual or the idea of homecoming or ingathering. It's that this colleague of mine served for years at one of our wealthier congregations. and he has grown weary of listening to a litany of expensive summer vacations every September, followed by a frustrating stewardship pledge every October. Each year, he tries his best to hold tightly to the spiritual core of the water communion ritual, as each vial of water is poured lovingly into the sacred vessel to the sound of our pool in the Hamptons, a waterfall on the Turks and Caicos Islands, and from the waters of Greece on our Mediterranean cruise. Of course, I've seen a lot of Provincetown water become a part of this ritual too over the years. So I've been thinking about how best to avoid this slippery Unitarian slope into competing exotic water retrieval locations, while holding on to the idea that we come to church and come back to church, bringing with us all of the places we have been, all of our cumulative experiences. I do not want to throw the baby out with the water communion water. I think we need this ritual of mingling our own stories into a collective living water that can become our holy water. Also, I have just been asked to do my first baby blessing here, and I hope it is the first of many. So I am going to need that holy water. So here is an invitation for next year's Ingathering Sunday. Same time, same place, Sunday after Labor Day, September 8th, 2013. On that day, please bring with you a small sample of water from some place you have been during this coming year. I'm telling you now so that you can be sure to collect the water at any point when you are someplace special. It doesn't have to be exotic, just special to you. And as you pour your water into our sacred vessel, I'm not going to ask you to speak aloud the geographic place that it represents, but rather the feeling that this water from your special place brings to mind. So if your water is from a gorgeous waterfall in the Turks and Caicos Islands, you can pour it in saying, beauty. And if your water is from the faucet of the sink that you just fixed all by yourself for the very first time, you can pour it in saying, independence. I don't know how it will go, but let's try it. And don't worry about remembering your water that Sunday. I will remind you. Ingathering is a time for each of us to reflect on why we come to church. I'm sure some of you come for the music. We are blessed with an amazing choir. Since I have to lead worship, it's during the music that I really get to worship for myself. So I can relate to that. Some of you probably come for the community. It is so good to be together with people who care about us and who care about the world. To borrow a phrase from that old TV show Cheers, sometimes you want to be where everybody knows your name, even if it is just because you are wearing a name tag. We are loved here, and we are missed when we're not here. This is a place where we can pray and meditate. It's powerful being silent in a room full of people. I can always feel the deep energy in that. And churches always make me feel like a part of history, too. I like to think about how many people have worshiped here before us, and how many people will worship here after we are gone. But I'll tell you, a big part of the reason that I have been going to church since I was a little girl is that I believe it can make me a better person. Not in that you get a gold star for being a believer kind of way, but in that Here is where you work on being a better person, kind of way. Coming to church and being part of a church community recalls me over and over to my better self. In my head, I think I know who I am as a person, what I believe, what my priorities are, my deeply held principles and convictions. But if I take a step back and watch what I do, all the choices I make and things I say and things I don't say, that inner me and the outer me don't always match up. Just give me a little nod to show me I'm not the only one. There are so many elements of a Sunday morning that say to me, listen, you have a little work to do. Sometimes those reminders are gentle, words of a song that inspire me, words of a prayer that forgive me and urge me to begin again, tenderness shown by others that touches me and reminds me to be tender. And sometimes those reminders are difficult. Those powerful silences can also be times for an inner voice to call me out or call me to action. A sense of deep connection to others and the world can tug me out of my comfort zone and ask me to do more, give more, be more. And all of this is our faith's way of helping us to live out our principles rather than just believe them. A way to make sure that our inner lives and our outer lives are lining up. I remember a scene from a movie I watched years ago. All week I've been trying to remember what movie it is, and it's been driving me crazy. So if you know what movie this is from after the service, please let me know. Anyway, the scene, as I remember it, goes like this. A husband and wife are fighting. The husband spends all of his time at work and very little time at home. They fight about it all the time, but nothing changes. After years of this, the wife finally says to her husband, "If a masked gunman came into the house and put a gun to my head and said, 'Choose now, your wife or your career,' which would you choose?" The husband can't believe the question. "Of course I would choose you. Of course I would," he says. "That's just it," says the wife. "There's never going to be a masked gunman. There is never going to be a masked gunman for us either, asking us to choose a principled spiritual life or a regular one. Just small choices that we make day by day. Just the words we choose to use with each other. Just that moment when we look away or speak up. Just what we spend our money on today. Just how much time we spend doing those things we say we love this weekend. Just the kindness or the pettiness we are embracing right now. Just these. Just these, and one morning a week when we can remind ourselves what our best selves look like and what we want those daily choices to lead us toward. It was an Annie Dillard quote that helped me to decide on going into the ministry. She says, "How we spend our days is how we spend our lives." Going to church asks us the question, do your days reflect how you want to be spending your life? I love this poem by Barbara Peskin. One of the old ones stood up into the morning light and spoke to those who had come back to the river. "Now we have come again to this place. It is a good thing. My life apart from you is not as strong. Yes, I have danced, and I have told stories at my own fire, and I have sung to all the 6 directions. But when I am with you, my friends, I know better who it is in me that sings. This church is like that ancient river. It is a place that we come back to again and again to remind ourselves of who we are. Not the selves that we would be if we were content to just wake up in the morning and go through our days without working on ourselves or our world, but our best selves, the ones we actually do have to work at, the ones that follow our conscience and not just the crowd, the ones that do that hard work of holding on or letting go, the ones that see injustice in the world and don't look away but ask, how can I help? The ones that keep working at forgiving, at staying sober, at being present, at loving ourselves with the help of or in spite of our families. We are each on a personal spiritual journey, and we could stay home on Sunday mornings and work on our souls individually as we do at other times during the week. There's no spiritual hierarchy here. I do not have access to the holy that you do not. But our lives apart from each other are not as strong. I hope that part of the reason that you come to church is that you also believe that being here can help to make you a better person. There are people here who model the kind of people we want to be when we grow up. There are social justice projects here that we can get involved in when we feel that tug to look outward at how we can help the world. There are people here we can have hard conversations with about our fears and hopes, about our prejudices, about death. And yes, there are people here that when we come to die, will bury us with their gentle hands. Sometimes when I have read Gordon McKeeman's reading from the opening, I have thought, how selfish. He wants religion to be there for him like his van. He is telling us to come to church and put our time in just so that when we are in crisis, we can bank on getting help. But sometimes I read Gordon's reading and I think, hey, that's right. How can church be here for us in our crises when we are not here for church the rest of the time, contributing to the community, making friends, helping others in crisis, working a little bit each week on being our best selves? And even if some of this is inward work that we come to do, it is not selfish work. Because working at being our better selves always helps the world, always makes the world a better place, even if it is in the smallest way, the smallest kindness shared. So we need Sundays like this once in a while, Ingathering Sundays, when we are reminded of why we come to church, what role it plays in our lives. We need Sundays like this when we can look around and appreciate the community that we have come to depend on or are starting to get to know. Sundays when we stop and appreciate that this church is home to us. Sheila Ryan was showing her daughter around the church this week, and from my office I overheard her unofficial tour. I could tell that she was trying hard to get across the importance of this place in her life. And I overheard the moment when she found the words. "This is my church," she said. "This is my family." One of the old ones stood up into the morning light and spoke to those who had come back to the river Now we have come again to this place. It is a good thing. My life apart from you is not as strong. Yes, I have danced and I have told stories at my own fire, and I have sung to all the 6 directions. But when I am with you, my friends, I know better who it is in me that sings. Amen. Blessed be.